Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you are in. This is Big Girl Diary. Okay. Um, you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. All right. All right. All right. Just when you think you understand P. Diddy, you have to understand his foundation. No, I'm not talking about his father. I'm not talking about his mom with all that freak stuff they were doing. I'm talking about the foundation with this guy here. Oh, Clive Davis. What a rabbit hole. I spent hours today researching because I was listening to this podcaster by the name of Sean Atwood. Can't, great podcaster. And he had this lady on today that was car trafficked. And she said some things that put little pinholes to help me connect some dots. Very interesting. I have to go back and go listen to it again for different things. But however, Clive Davis, you're wondering how he's not mixed in with the P. Diddy situation or any of the lawsuits. I get it now. I completely get it. Let's go back in a time machine before Clive Davis became Clive Davis. He, when Clive Davis started Asteria record label, he had a record label. There was this guy by the name of William Paley and his wife, Babe or Barbara Babe Paley, Cushion Paley. They were the it couple back in the 40s until the 70s. And she, Babe Paley, Babe Paley was the Cassie Ventura of her time. The unfortunate part was Babe didn't make it out. No. She passed at a young age. Cassie's lucky. Okay, she's very lucky. Let me get all this straight. This is big. Okay. Man, this Clive, he is Clive Davis. If he's not sitting on the right hand of a demon, this guy, he's a groomer. He's a groomer. He grooms people when you don't think that you're being groomed to it, right? Let me start off with, oh my goodness. Where do I want to start at? Let me start here. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Arista Records. All right. Now, this is the interesting part. Now, Clive Davis, he, through his record company, got into CBS. Now, CBS was run by William Paley. But Clive got into so much. This was written, this was written back in November 1987. This is about what, 40, 30, my math, I'm not strong in math, but you know. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Gotta catch my breath.
This right here It goes back, and he started the label in 1974. Okay, he had it for a while. He had it for a while, and then he grew it to $1 million. I'm sorry. The sales were up to like $1 million. But I want to get to this part. There's this part I really want you to see. Goodness, where is it at? Okay, this is interesting. Arista's earning backbone by the 23-year-old Houston. Is particularly a Clive Davis creation. Houston, meaning Whitney Houston. So he was bringing in some big talent. He signed her to a contract when she was only 19, groomed her, all right, produced and chose most of the music for her. So he was bringing in big people to his record company, right? He was doing that. Now, Davis' intense involvement, he was quite involved in people's careers like P. Diddy. They were like together, right? He brought in Dionne Warwick, Aretha Franklin, and it just, when Arista started slagging, he started bringing in people that brought it back up again. And Whitney Houston brought it back up to its heyday. So as he's bringing an artist to bring his company up, he is dealing with CBS, okay? And in fact, I've made $1 million deal. Wait a minute, I never made $1 million deal in my life, he said. But the biggest one I ever did at CBS, excuse me. He did $400,000 in album, including recording cost to attract Neil Diamond. Very interesting, as if he felt he had something to prove in the industry with Arista's success. Davis responded, there's no question about it. You always have to keep proving yourself in this business, which has a lot of truth. He graduated from Harvard, but I'm trying to get to the point, and I don't want to fling it up because it makes it look bad. I should have took it off and then flung it down. That's what I should have done. Wait a minute. Because he gets canned. He loses his position at CBS, and I can't seem to find it now. This is not good. Oh my goodness. Okay. I should have looked over it before I brought it out. That's what I should have done. Apologize, but you see that. Okay. So you see him starting Arista Records back in 1974, and he's bringing people in the 80s to bring it back up, and his connection with CBS. So I want to make these connections so that you can see how all of this stuff falls into place. It is just mind-boggling. Is this it? Okay. Okay, let me. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now here. Now this was back in 2011. Okay. Now this goes into more of the lawsuit that I'm going to get to that exposes some things that I thought it was interesting and what's happening to P. Diddy. Clive Davis sort of eased his way out of it. And he did that before. I gotta say, Clive is one slippery character. He is slippery. So here, okay, let's go back. Okay, admitted some big. Okay, the CEO Peter Edge and the COO Tom Corson explains why it was time to retire those brands and artists. Okay, so here, Jive Records. There's a connection with Clive Davis. Clive has his fingers in everything. Jive Records, run by Barry Weiss for nearly 20 years, was home to a multi-platinum pop star, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake. That was a mess right there. Arista also was founded in 1974, also by Clive or by Davis, who signed Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, and Barry Manilow. Okay, there's a lot there. To the label in recent years, and it saw releases like Usher, Pink. Those artists will now fall under RCA record banner, because at that there was a lot going on, right? And in the digital age, one might think that these disclosures mean there is a little value, awareness, or loyalty to a record label. Loyalty to a record label by name, but the execs insisted it's quite the opposite. The concept of there is value in branding RCA is not having it confused with diluted by the label, says Corson. And he's like poking at Arista Records, Clive Davis, right? So there's like some fighting going on there, like diluting labels and all this other stuff. The artists will have to be supportive. We didn't make this move without consulting our artists, so that's a good thing. And we haven't had any pushback. Frankly, they're not brand. We're excuse me. We define by our artist. Okay, so for RCA, they talk to the artist. They respect the artist. But that Clive is completely different. So, where is it at? Okay, for the move followers around the layoffs, in which I wonder how much Clive had to do with that. Layoffs in which dozens of staffers were let go, including longtime executives Richard Pamis, who had been Davis's right-hand man for 3 decades. Tom Corbara and Peter Thea, Jive Records, and roster cuts in American Idol Season 9 winner Lee Dwys was a casualty. And this is quite interesting. So there, the label's being downsized. And we learned to work with less and hopefully accomplish the same, more cores added. So there was a huge issue there. And again, I'm wondering, how much does Clive Davis have to do with the problems RCA was having? I just want to know that. That's it. That's it. That just a little bit of information right there. But under Sony Music umbrella, which is called now headed by Doug Morris, RCA was founded in 1929 and the second oldest label in the US behind Sony property Columbia. Together, labels have boosted their parent company market shares, comfortably placed in the number 2 spot behind Universal Music Group, right? Now, these are new companies gobbling up smaller companies. That's what they were doing. So it just so happened that, Sony got RCA. Okay, so back at that time, there was a lot of these smaller companies getting taken in by larger companies. And you see, what's his name? Clive Davis in the Mist. You see him in all this stuff. But he has this, how can I say? He has this way of just sort of just being able to latch on and stay there. Now, Clive Davis, what he would do, he would go to radio stations and pay people to pay records. It was called Payola, right? But Clive, being the party guy that he was, and looking at him, he's like, he don't look like a party guy. He doesn't. He was the P. Diddy in his day. He was a P. Diddy when P. Diddy was in high school. He was a P. Diddy before P. Diddy was even, I wouldn't say before he was born, but he was doing a lot of moving and shaking in different areas until he got into music. So this is what I found rather interesting, and this brings some things together. It does. It brings some things together, but in this case, the Payola, it was the Drugola, the scandal. Now, this was like huge back in its day, and this was in 1973. Okay, so let's take a quick look, because I found this rather interesting, because they digitized it in 1996. Okay. Now, the Columbia Broadcasting System, CBS, okay, the corporation, attractive in many businesses, and earned $82 million last year, the fastest growing profit center, which accounts for nearly 30% of the earnings in the division that produces CBS records and tapes. Keep that in mind, okay? I showed you the other article that links Clive Davis, and okay. But CBS is is by far larger producer of records and tapes in the youth-dominated music world. Now, keep that in mind right there. This is very important, okay? The youth-dominated music world, okay? Because that is so huge. Forgive me for not being able to nail it in, okay? In the industry that takes revenues of $2 billion a year, more than all professional sports in the entire film industry combined. Grand juries and district attorneys are trying to find out if the music industry is shot through with the higher dollar excuse me. Excuse me. Volume of vanillity and corruption than has ever been seen in the American business history. The corporation or the corporate corruption being investigated, including the old-fashioned payola bribery, disc jockeys, and by record companies with a new ethnic wrinkle. Interesting. But one CBS record executive has reportedly told a grand jury that $250,000 in cash has been slipped into disc jockeys who directed their programming to Black audiences. Now, this was interesting because if you remember, I don't know how old all of you are, but like in the 70s and 80s, it was very difficult to get Black music on. Like Michael Jackson, broke through MTV with his record Thriller. What was it, 1984? So they worked hard to get Black music and to reach the Black audiences. Because most of the time, you would go to the record store, buy your record, and then you go home and play it, have house parties, whatever. They're like, no, we have to get the Black audiences. But in return for payola, even in the unprecedented scale, it is not the whole story. The federal investigators are looking into the use of hard rugs. K9, you know what it is. Hero, you know what it is. By the businessmen in the music to bribe their distribution outlets or entertain their entertainers. Quite interesting. So their whole goal was going after the Black audience. Okay. Keep in mind the youth, the world's youth. This is the foundation of it. But the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs unearthed the first lead while investigating Pascal Falcone. Now, this guy, keep in mind, P. Diddy, he had his people, right? He had his people doing things for him. Same with Clive Davis, the same thing. Clive Davis did it. He didn't get caught. P. Diddy didn't pay attention. A reputed New Jersey mobster, P. Diddy, okay, indicated on rug charges in February 7th. He turned out to be sharing an office with the former promotion of the Columbia Records and those who and records whose papers led to David Wineshaw under the director of the artist relation of CBS Music Group. You're like, big girl die, what does all this have to do? It has a lot to do with what's just pay attention. Stick with me. Since that time, at least three official investigators have been launched into the use of K9 and other drugs as a new form of payola in the music industry or the music business, along with the mafia infiltration of the music industry distribution system. Very interesting, okay? Beginning what may be the second most massive cover-up in the past 12 months, CBS fired its records division president Clive Davis, charging him with a serious lawsuit with the music world equivalent of spitting on a sidewalk. Okay, bilking the company of $94,000 in phony expenses. I mean, if you think of what P. Diddy and the things that he was doing, and you look at Clive Davis and what he has done or allegedly has done, that's what they say. It doesn't mean he did it. It just means that he's being named in the situation. So they say the cancer in the music business is not the paddle expense account, the padded expense account, and the panic-stricken men who had the CBS Today now. The cancer what killed the singer Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix, and the new currency of the record industry, hard rugs. Okay. So, what action has CBS taken so far to build a defense against stockholders' lawsuits, and had to fire and sue Mr. Davis to give the appearance of a self-investigation? Wink, wink, right? And it has asked its regular law firm, Crafteth, Swine and More, to poke around and presiding partner of the law firm Roswell. Okay. So Clive Davis was in the mix of this. Wait a minute. Clive Davis was in the mix of this. This guy right here. This guy right here was in the mix of all of this. Okay. He's the one that is, putting all the rugs, and instead of putting cash in, he put cash in people's hands, but there were some people that had something else in mind. They're like, well, a little rugs, a little hero, a little canine, a little this, a little that. And that's what he did to get that music played, to basically get the black audience, because you had the white audience, you had them down on lockdown. Now you got to get the black audience. You got to get them. You got to get them and get them young. Okay. Just wait. Oh, just stick with me. There is so much to this. So much. So here, where is it at? Okay. I'd like to hear Dan Rather cross-examine the officials of the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Rugs about what is known so far, and to watch Dan Scar on the steps of the White House in Newark, New Jersey. Now, Newark is real close to New York City, maybe about 30 minutes away, maybe less than that. Reporting the latest issue or the latest leaks from the grand jury room on the penetration of the record industry and the mob rug peddler. Now, there is something I want to, is it this one right here? Okay. Well, everybody showed that Clive Davis lost his job. He lost his job. Okay. Wink, wink, lost his job. Okay. And he had that Payola scandal. Now, this, oh my goodness. This right here is what really, do I want to do this first? Okay. Now, in this was a big lawsuit, okay, One person who wasn't in it was Clive Davis. He was out of it. Okay. He managed to get himself out of it. Who couldn't get out of it was Falcone. Falcone, do I have his picture? Right here. This right here is Falcone. Pascal Falcone. He was up into his eyeballs along with another guy. But however, I thought it was very, very interesting how this unfolded, because they went through court, got a conviction, but then they went through a court of appeals and was able to get off on not on the trial, but on the technicalities of the trial. Like they tried to do with P. Diddy, but it didn't work. he got away with a lot. The big stuff he got away with. The smaller stuff stuck. So he's going to do what, 4 years, in jail. Well, this, I couldn't believe I found this. I'm just like, oh my goodness. I couldn't believe I found it. But this right here, let me make sure I underline that part. Now, this right here was February 1975. Okay. So I was able, this is 50 years ago. Clive Davis is not no spring chicken at all. But I want you to pay attention to one particular person throughout all this whole thing that I was like, whoa, this is wild. This name right here. Now, this right here is Department of Justice. This person right here. I don't need to go any further. They're in the mix. I'm like, isn't this right? So, Pascal Falcone, Falconio, okay, and Wally Berger were convicted in the United States District Court, not the United States of America, but the United States. Okay, I'll leave that one alone. And the District of New Jersey on multiple counts of conspiracy to import and distribute the Hero, you know what that is, violations of the Travel Act, okay, and the use of interstate facilities in the furtherance of these conspiracies. Now, this is what I found interesting. The government's proof of the trial revealed that the appellate participated in a scheme to smuggle 20 pounds of Hero into the United States from Canada. The scheme was foiled by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police working in league with the United States authorities. This appeal alleges numerous grounds for reversal of the conviction below. For the sake of clarity, they can be grouped into two general categories: wiretapping and trial errors. Go back to this person right here. I thought, look, I thought that was interesting. I'm like, OMG. They got wiretaps, they got all this stuff, and all of a sudden they can't use it because the government didn't do a proper job to secure it. I wonder what they really got on those tapes. Okay. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make it up. You can't make it up. I'm just like, this guy has people in high places looking after him. And I'm just like, he has high people in high places looking after him. Who are the people in high places looking after him? So it had me go back to William Paley. Now, he fired him at CBS. And I'm like, there's something there. There is something there. And I found something. Right? So, let's see, where's it at? All right. Let me go ahead and get this because it took a lot to get it. Is this, yeah. Okay, you're like, Big Girl Diary, what is this? Right here. This right here. People were saying, Kanye came out and said, P. Diddy is a fed. He's a fed, right? Or do you mean Clive Davis? Bad. All right. Because this guy right here, that guy right there, William Paley. All right, just bear with me. You're going to say, OMG. Yeah. So as I was looking through this and it had my inquiry, and this right here is back in 1977. Okay. So before P. Diddy even got in the game, Clive Davis was well in it by 25 years. So he had a lot of connections, a lot of this, a lot of that, did a lot of favors, did a lot of whatever, right? Did a lot of that. How do I close this right here? I don't know how to close this. I don't know. Okay. Well, it says, when CBS took me off the air, my real offense was exploring Bill Paley or William Paley. Now keep in mind, he was in CBS. He was in broadcasting and affiliated with music, and he just had his hands in a little bit of everything. But what was like the issue was how here. Often they were in the startling contradictions of each other about the course of events and about the role of Paley. The chairman of the board, Paley himself, sat with me for almost 4 hours over a 2-day period. His tape recorder alongside of mine once taken the feed from his former from his former employee when he accidentally erased part of his tape. We spent more time in direct conversation in February of 1977 than during all that year I have worked with him or for him. The discussion over a range of Paley's deep involvement in the Republican Party to the reason why I was forced out of the network after the disclosure of the Pike report. I meant to look that up. And the February 16th, 1976 issue of the Village Voice. Finally, one question remained. What was Paley's CIA connection? All right. Now, if you understand anything, they're after the young Black youth. What does the CIA have anything to do with the Black youth? What does Him. What does he have to do with anything? Because he was in black music, in rap, in R&B. He was in it all. And Pascal was apparently his patsy, but the person here, the big guy, you got to ask, who groomed whom? Who groomed whom? Was it Clive grooming him, or was Paley grooming him? It makes you wonder. Wait a minute. I'm just like, whoa. I mean, it even went back further, but I got to do this in chunks because this is huge, and it all falls on him. Okay. So I thought that was interesting here. Oh, this gets big, okay? And the luncheon with William Paley, held in a private dining room on the 35th floor on February 4th, 1976, for George Bush, the new CIA director, did not go as he had hoped. What was to have been a sociable welcome for the son of the late Senator Prescott Bush, warmly remembered as an early CBS board member, turned after dessert into an argument about CIA agents posing as reporters. It was started by Walter Cronkite, angry because he had been identified by a former television newsman, Sam Jaffe, as having appeared to be an alleged White House list of journalists who purportedly worked for the CIA. To remove the stain from himself, the journalist Cronkite demanded the Bush disclose the list of news people who actually had been CIA agents. Operation Paperclip, right? I'm sorry, Operation Mockingbird. Bush was sympathetic to Cronkite's complaint and ready to consider ending the practice, which he subsequently did. Or did he? He flatly refused to uncover those who had served as a CIA in the past under a promise of external confidentiality. At the height of the argument, Paley stepped in, graciously supported his guest, and suggesting that it would be best to bury the past. A few weeks later, it looked as though Paley might have had a reason of his own for wanting to bury the past. That was when it had been my lot to go on the Cronkite show, where the story based on the disclosure of Sig Mecklenson, a former president of CBS News, that at least two former part-time correspondents for CBS and in the 1950s had been CIA agents. And the story most startling aspect of had been Mecklenson had learned about them Stockholm Stringer, Austin Goodrich, from the CIA officer right of Palin's office, introduced by Palin, who listened while they identified Goodrich as their man. So Palin denied the story. Mecklenson sticks to his guns. So they're okay. I believe, based on this, I believe, yeah, he was in it. He was in it, and oh my goodness, he was in it, and by him being in it, then comes Clive Davis, and the two of them having a working relationship and also building some kind of relationship or foundation to where Clive Davis could get in. And this is all conjecture on my part. Allegedly, okay? For him to have all of these connections and managed to get out of all of the trouble that P. Diddy finds him in. And Clive Davis is up to his eyeballs in everything that's going on there, everything that P. Diddy did and was able to get away with. How did the man have jet planes? Huh? The fuel by itself costs a lot of money. Okay? The fuel by itself costs a lot of money. So he's able to jet set around the world, and having his guy, the basketball player, I can't remember his name, having a little pouch of rugs for him whenever he needed. His little pink dust. Okay? And you get some of that stuff from the CIA. I'm just saying. This is huge. But all of this goes back to World War II. You're like, Big Girl Diary? What? It goes back to World War II? Yes, it does. Between Russia and Germany. You're like, what does that have anything to do with the music business? It has everything to do with the music business. How do you socially engineer people to do certain things that how you want a community, a society to go? You do it through the music. And the last people that needed to be on that list was the Black people. They were going after the Black people, and that's exactly what they did. And they used little dirtbags like him. All of a sudden, you had positive rap. Now you have gangster rap, people running around doing bang, bang, shoot 'em up, shoot 'em up. And on my other channel, Politics with Laura, back in that time in the 80s, back in the time in the 80s in LA, you had Ruggs with the Bush. You saw the Bush connection, right? 1979. This happened 1976. And then you had Ruggs in a what do you call it? In a train that was stopped at the LA hub, and it happened to be unlocked, and it had nothing but pew pew and the little bullets and Ruggs in it. That was used in LA. And all of a sudden, all this violence came out of no place. Yes. And at that time, they were making music there in LA, and that was becoming a music hub. And then you have this guy that goes back and forth because he heard rap. He heard NWA back in the 80s, and he's like, oh, I got to be a part of that. You think that was by chance? No. And then soon, Clive Davis, or shall I say P. Diddy, then was under the tutelage of Clive Davis. I mean, the connections are like bam, bam, bam. They're right there. They're right there. So there is a lot to this. It is social. This music, after when it got the Black people, social engineering the United States. I hope they don't take my channel down. I hope they don't. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But this stuff is so deep. Now, if you go back about 6 months ago, I did another video about P. Diddy. Okay? And about 2004, there was a study, a 15-year study from Howard University and what was it? Alabama A&M University did a 15-year study on gays in hip hop. And they use certain what do you call it? Certain rappers to put out gay lyrics. Now, there was always gays in hip hop. The people want to hear the music. That was it. Now they want to push message. And there was one, I can't, Young Fly Red, and he said, back that boy bus box, whatever you want to call it. That didn't do very well. They're like, okay, we got to revamp that. I mean, this stuff is a psyop. That's all I'm going to say. All of it. All of it. Not just rap, all of it. So, if you want me to go deeper into it, take it back to World War II. Let me know. Put something down in a what do you call it? In the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Please help me out here. And most of all, I do want to thank you for stopping by.